Let's close our eyes. In our society, especially the Western society, there's a lot of emphasis on thinking, on the right words. There's nothing wrong in that. I'm not saying it out of judgment. I'm only using it to get to a deeper level. But if you look at evolution, our evolution, we've become thinking creatures only very recently. So we cannot attribute our existence to thinking. On the contrary, I would say, as long as we are comparing it with thinking, how we feel is more primitive to us than how we think. Our feelings dictate more of our life. Our feelings dictate more of the quality of our life than our thinking does. Let's do a little experiment. Let's imagine if we are sad right now. Let's imagine that we are sad right now. I'm sure we've all I'm sure we've all been sad. So it's not a theoretical imagination. While you are sad, if I asked you, can you think your way out of sadness? Can you just tell yourself, I'm not sad anymore? And will your sadness just disappear? And when I say disappear, I mean gone for good, not suppressed, not pushed under the carpet, but properly processed. Same thing could be asked about anger. If you are angry, and if I asked you, can you think your way out of anger? You'll probably get angrier. And we've all seen that happen with people when we tell them not to be angry. There is something about feeling, and there's something about feelings that we really, really care about, especially when it comes to other people, ourselves. Feelings don't have words. Some of us who are lucky enough to be poets can take that feeling and create the magic of words. Most of us, we resort to thinking. If we are sad, we try to find why we are sad, because of whom we are sad. We go on this Sherlock Holmes journey to find the perpetrator. Most of the time, finding out the root cause is not going to alleviate our feelings in any which way. But accepting that would be to nullify this journey, would mean to confront our feelings, to sit with them. Whatever those feelings are. Or to avoid them, to drink our way, to eat our way, to smoke our way, to binge watch our way, and other creative means of avoiding our way from our feelings. I heard one of my teachers describe his life early on. My teacher's name is Francis Lucille. He's a French teacher. And he said when he was young, he was married, he had a wife, he had a house, he had 2 cars, he had kids. So, from a thinking standpoint, from the bullet point standpoint, he had a good job also. So, if we were to enlist, he had everything on that list. But he was miserable. So, in thinking, he was happy, but in feeling, he was miserable. So, if I had asked him at that point, would you consider yourself happy? Happy, happy. Not conceptually happy. Conceptually happy is this idea of thinking our way into happiness that is very short lived and it is very shallow. But the feeling of being happy runs much, much deeper. So, this overemphasis on thinking is only a distraction from feeling. But because we have decades of experience of thinking, we cannot just ignore thinking. That would be exactly the opposite of what I'm talking about, which is emphasizing thinking and ignoring feeling, opposed to ignoring thinking and emphasizing feeling. But what I'm proposing is to not ignore feelings. We don't have to emphasize feelings just yet, but at least we can start off by accepting that I cannot ignore or I cannot outthink my way out of feelings. What this little openness can do to our thinking is unbelievable. Today, our thinking is like a very sophisticated firewall that does not allow us to feel much. Nothing new, nothing that doesn't fit into the confines of the thinking penetrates through our thinking. It's at at best it is, or at worst it is, very easily dismissed. Oh, I don't know about it, it must be wrong. Let's move on. This doesn't sound right, so it is wrong. That's how heavily vetted our thinking has become. But that little openness could soften this firewall. I was listening to a podcast years ago, and the host asked this question towards the end of the podcast. If you were to write something on a billboard, what would it be? And I remember it distinctly. The guest said, "Don't believe everything you think." In order to see the heavy dependence on thinking, we should see how many times what we think is not right, which will be most of the times, if we are honest and observant. Many times we quickly judge people, we attach labels to them, we think this is why they did it. And when we do find out why they did it, we just ignore that this is how we thought about them. And then we continue to believe our thinking the next time we run into a similar or a different situation. Intuition, compassion, creativity are dry words for a thinker, but they are the juice for a feeler. Intuition is a silent whisper on the doors of our heart, warning us, alerting us, showing us the path sometimes. And thinking ignores it because it's too soft for it. Creativity is the same way. Compassion, empathy is the same way. Forgiveness is the same way. Love is the same way. Telling someone I love you is a good start. But adding love in your actions and your words can make them feel they are loved. That will be a much deeper experience for the people around us than just telling them I love you. Sorry is the same way. Just like you, all of us yearn to be heard, to feel seen at work. More than being thought of, we want to feel it. We want to feel people care for us. So we have to rise above our thinking. For a chronic thinker like me, this felt debilitating. Enjoying art was a punishment. Poetry was gibberish. Feeling how people around me would be feeling was a waste of time. It's not that I've become stupid now that feelings and thinking are at the same threshold for me, but I have a wider access to my life. Not all thinking is right, not all feeling is right. So I would really encourage you to feel whatever you are feeling a little more deeply without trying to name it. Once you name it, you are back in the realm of thinking. You can feel something without knowing what you are feeling. You need a feeling to feel. You don't need the name of the feeling to feel. Whatever you are feeling, feel it for a little longer, a little deeper, a little fuller. If you are happy, feel it a little more deeply. If you are sad, feel it a little more deeply. If you are angry, don't think, just feel that anger fully. Don't think anything, don't do anything. Thank you.